These
as
are
well,
all good questions.
right? Like
yeah, do they eat like berries and nuts and stuff from the earth? Do you find nuts in the earth?
I think nuts grow
I
from
think
like
so.
trees and shit.
Yeah, but I guess nuts are berries.
What do you mean?
And,
Like, do they
twig-
find them on the earth? Like,
But I mean, like
the
if you're
fuck do you
just
think they come from?
if you're foraging, you don't forage for nuts, do you?
Sure, I think you forage for anything that's forageable, right?
Welcome back to Show Me Yours with Jackie and Jonny, everyone. I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Jonny DeVito.
And thank you so much for watching. This is episode 10.
Woo!
Woo!
Look at us.
Yeah, we made it 10 episodes.
We've committed to something for the first time in our lives.
Yeah.
That, you know, we're not floundering. We're not squandering away from the responsibilities that we have
Yeah.
as parents to a misfit little redheaded stepchild of a podcast. It's fun.
Exactly.
I'm excited.
And you know I love celebrating things, even as something as inconsequential as 10 podcasts.
We're celebrating. Oh, what do you got? Oh shit! Right on. Cool.
Happy 10 podcasts.
Yeah, happy 10th podcast, everybody. Brought to you by something that I can't pronounce,
Yeah,
but that
I don't
looks
really
delightful.
know what its
Do we leave that
name
here? Do we put that here?
is. Yeah.
A Quezzy.
Yeah.
Well, we're drinking that shit. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
All right.
And today we're doing a very special album to me. Most of you have probably seen the cover before or recognize this. It's Damn the Torpedoes by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. One of their, probably their most well-known album, definitely their sort of definitive album, I would say, and their breakthrough album.
Kind of sucks.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I have to be the voice of antagonism on this one, so it's gonna be this is gonna be fun.
Okay, but
damn the Torpedoes. Damn this album.
Sure. But before we get to that, there's an interesting story we'd like to discuss first.
Yeah.
And so basically the gist of this story is that this lady on TikTok uploaded a video explaining her theory that all these there's like a contingent of missing people that go missing in U.S. like national parks, I guess it is.
Mm-hmm.
And her theory is that these people are taken and eaten by cannibals who live in various caves around the park. And she sort of mapped out where these people go missing and shows how it correlates to the caves. And people are freaking out a little bit. She basically, and you know what I like about this story is that it ties into Bigfoot in a way.
Well, the thing about it is that what this woman has is claiming, which is actually kind of like, and it's an interesting theory. I'm not going to say no to it because cannibalism is infinitely fascinating, but to go even deeper into the topic of cannibalism, the fact that there's like an underground network of cannibals that live and operate out of tunnels and pull in weary travelers through the national parks.
And use Bigfoot as a front.
Like, that's the part that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, we've been over this before, right? Anybody using Bigfoot for their own personal gain.
And, like, trying to make big feet seem like monsters.
Yes.
We know they're gentle creatures.
Of course, right? That kind of goes without saying. So the, it's that I have a problem with. But if this is an actual underground network of cannibals, then we can't put that on them. Because I don't, like, they've never gone out and made a statement, right? I think a lot of people are kind of casting those aspersions towards Bigfoot unfairly.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? They because it's just the easiest conclusion that a lot of people have for a large number of people that have gone missing.
Yeah. So
right?
she had this whole theory. Basically, she says she thinks the Sasquatch sounds that you hear in missing 411 calls I wasn't aware this was a thing.
Yeah, very of a serious lack of evidence that she brought to the table.
Yeah,
when
I
she was
didn't know that there was like this whole. I mean, maybe we should have done more research, but I didn't know there was a whole like subsection of like missing 411 calls where you hear Sasquatch noises in the background.
Yeah, I'm gonna need like a full compilation on this. Like, and even like I want the files myself. Like, I don't want a YouTube video kind of explaining it to me.
Yeah,
right? Like,
I want
really,
it to come from an official source.
For sure,
yeah.
right? I need to dig through these, through these documents and then through this audio evidence. I think, we need to do it ourselves, right? So we can really get to the bottom of this. But until then, I think we should leave Bigfoot out of it for the sake of, to really discuss the idea that, that the hills really have eyes. Would that be this kind of situation, right? Like we're underground
man,
dwellers.
That was one of the first, not the first, but it was one of the first scary movies that I remember watching that really fucked me up for a bit.
Well, it's a frightening movie,
it's
right?
Terrifying.
It's not the like a slasher flick or this and that. Like, this is the idea that people are actually living like that, and you know what I mean, gonna prey on innocent travelers for sustenance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like
That's
they
wild.
don't hold any, like there are some pretty horrific scenes in that movie. Yeah.
Well, Jackie, imagine your life as a cannibal. Right? Like every kill that every meal that you prepare would have to go into, like, the hunt would be so much more, like you're not sitting in a blind waiting for a fucking deer to walk by, Jackie. You're hunting, the most dangerous prey, they call it.
Yeah.
Right? How would you hunt a person, just hypothetically?
Well, that's a great question. I think probably it would be like a driving. I mean, I'm from the island. The house that I grew up on is really in the middle of nowhere. I live on an island in a very small town, but my house is outside of that very small town. So it's very remote. And so the way that I would imagine it is sort of driving in that location late at night. There happens to be a pedestrian. It's my car against them. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
So you're vehicular manslaughter type of thing. I didn't picture you as the type of person to maybe like, have like a blade in your teeth and be creeping through the grass.
I think because what I'm thinking, I would need to be as removed as I can be from the situation, but I wouldn't want to have like a gun or something.
Yeah, the blood is still on your hands, but more on like your fenders.
Exactly. And it was an innocent mistake. And then I had to feed my family.
Sure.
So it's like I had a bus driver in middle school, and she was known around the bus driving circuit as the lady you would call every time a bus driver hit a deer, because she would come pick it up and cook it for her family.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty gnarly. Like anybody that's in the business of catching roadkill or picking up roadkill.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're using it and feeding your loved ones with it, then that's kind of cool, but that's pretty gnarly to pick like the Ford emblem out of like a rib cage or something like that right before you're gonna put the stakes on.
Because really, like on the surface, I mean, like you get like an initial like reaction, like that's kind of gross, that's kind of trashy, but that's no different. It's even less, I would say it's less violent than like hunting, because you're not going out of your way to kill an animal. This animal was accidentally killed, and it's either toss the body into the ditch or this lady feeds her family.
Yeah, like shout out to that lady. I think that's like
but you do it. You have to like shovel it off the front of the bus and shit. Like
it's gnarly. I mean, I'm not saying it's like it's the way to go about it, but she's an opportunist, and you can't fault her for that. I bet she saves.
Times are tough out here.
I mean, that's significant.
How many
savings.
people does a full deer feed?
Shit, I don't know. I don't eat a deer, but I'd imagine like it'd probably take like a family of 4 like a little bit to eat a deer, maybe like a couple months or something. Maybe I don't know if you're just eating deer.
I don't know. It depends on the size of the deer, of course. Yeah.
And if it's all fucked up from getting hit by a bus and you just like make it into sausage or something. I mean, I'm for this now.
Yeah, some venison dogs.
Yeah. I think if I was gonna hunt a person, I would do it like in a fishing lure kind of way, right? Like I want to have something like a tractor that catches the eye, right? So you could really like, get a fish on the line,
right?
If you will. I'd probably do like what Bugs Bunny does and like dress up in like a dress and like, like lipstick and everything like that. And if I'm like in a remote location showing a little bit of leg, right, then I feel like I would have better chances than if I was just, out there like in a more like camouflaged, situation, right? Like kind of being one with the surroundings. I don't think that's the way to go. I think I'm gonna let the prey come to me.
Yeah.
And then like praying mantis style, if I was gonna be a cannibal, then I would I guess I'd have to have sex with the guy and then eat his head.
Eat his head first.
Eat his face off. Jackie. You've never seen the movie Face Off, Jackie, but you will. And there's a point there where this is going to be a great thing in our friendship. There's going to be like, I want his face off. You'll meet him. You'll fucking meet him. And it's going to be great.
Yeah, no, I look forward to seeing this film.
It's a classic. It's John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
I looked it up after
Oh my God. So the first 10 minutes of the movie is like John Travolta and Nicolas Cage playing very distinct characters. And then their faces come off.
Yeah.
And then they play the rest of the movie as each other's very distinct characters. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Castor Troy is Nicolas Cage's character. And in my opinion, one of my favorite on-screen gangsters of all time. Continue the story.
I haven't the faintest idea what I was talking about.
Sorry, I got off on a tangent there a little bit. I really like the movie Face Off is what I was trying to say.
For context for the listener, we were talking about Face Off earlier this week because I had a nightmare that that at first it started off genuinely. I won't go too deep into my dream because I know most people don't like hearing about dreams, but the gist of it was that I received a call from like a hospital that was specifically for severe horrific injuries, and they called me to tell me that
we're the hospital of severe specific injuries.
And they told me that Jonny was there, and I was like, oh my God, like freaking out, like, is he okay? They're
he
like,
has a very severe specific injury.
He's okay, but you have to come here right now. So I was like freaking out, and then I get to the hospital, and the injury is that Jonny is like walking kind of funny. Like I wouldn't even call it a limp. You just have a funny walk to you. And your face is not your face, but is the face of the from Jersey Shore. And that was the severe specific injury that you sustained.
That guy does so many fucking push-ups and sit-ups and shit that like if I woke up one day with anything from the situation that like wasn't his fucking abs, and like, what
his
a
face
bummer.
is gross. And I'm like, it was so funny because like it was like truly like it was a frightening dream because it's obviously like a huge fear of mine for something to happen
for me to wake up with the face of the situation.
But so a fear of mine for something to happen to you, but then that thing was that you had the face of the situation, which is a nightmare.
Which is like, and it's almost worse, right? Like it's almost worse than like whatever could happen. But it is a pretty severe specific injury. Right?
And they were like, he's lucky he has all of his limbs. And I'm like, what the fuck happened to his face?
We didn't think you were going to ask about that, actually. Fuck. Greg, get in here. You did it. You got to tell her. I would like if I'm walking around like I haven't seen a mirror yet. And I'm like, why is everybody looking at me? What's up? I got this weird urge to do like to go to the gym and then maybe tan and then do my laundry. Fuck, that show was stupid. I love that show. Like the first season of the Jersey Shore or whatever. That was fucking funny.
It's so like I have been rewatching. This was like because I have been rewatching Jersey Shore lately, and I realized after this that I need to stop watching Jersey Shore.
Yeah. After the first season, everybody should have realized they need to stop watching the Jersey Shore. But it was like time capsule. It's a piece of like what year did that come out? It was like 2000.
It was early
like,
2000s.
Yeah.
For me, it's just a thing like if I don't know, like I go through waves, and lately I've been feeling sort of down, I guess, and like I don't, when I'm sort of in those moods, I don't want to watch a show that I have to like pay attention to and shit. I just want something that I can just turn my brain off, and then I
like
always
you're staring at your phone and like it's just in the background.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
Of thing or whatever.
And
just bumming out, looking at people's better lives on Instagram, feeling shitty about yourself. No, I've never felt like that before.
And so
I've never done that.
I like watching reality TV in those times, and Jersey Shore is one of my go-tos.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I do the Flavor of Love, so like there's really nothing that I've watched Flavor Flav's Flavor of Love, I don't know, 13 times maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't tell
really
you how many times I've watched Jersey Shore. Kardashians too. Not as much. Yeah. I haven't watched the newer seasons, but I haven't watched a single up. There's some meme floating around like they just did like 200th episode, and like I haven't watched one episode, and I felt like I don't know. There's like a weird. I hate like looking at a meme and being like fuck yeah. But like there was. I see that one. I'm like, you're fucking lost. It's a great show.
I imagine
so entertaining.
The
early seasons, particularly. I haven't watched the later ones because now they're all, they're the Kardashians.
Well,
but
once
first,
you get that far into the series, right? Like it's hard for the writers to keep it interesting. So I think shit's got to get crazy.
Yeah, but
Bruce, get in here. We got a wild one for you.
But anyways, back to this story. So, in 2011, the founder of the North America Bigfoot Search launched a database of wildland disappearances that occurred under mysterious circumstances. And from his research, there are at least 1,600 people currently missing in the wild somewhere in the United States. Now, I don't really understand why he took this upon himself, because again, it's furthering this narrative that Bigfoot are somehow involved in these missing people.
Well, Jackie, was he trying to clear the name of Bigfoot by doing this, or is that unclear?
It's unclear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all I know is that he launched this this project to I guess, I don't know, tally the missing people that have gone missing in the wild in these specific areas.
Everything in the Bigfoot universe, in the realm of if that's what we're talking about, I approach it with 100% positivity. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and just believe that guy's is doing this with Bigfoot's best interest in mind.
I hope so.
So,
I certainly hope
all right.
so.
But yeah, because if he's got something sinister on his plate here and he's trying to, do something, I might have to go fuck him up. But that's neither here nor there.
And then another quote from this video is, "We've never seen a Sasquatch before. We've never seen Bigfoot before, but we have found the clothes of missing people 100 yards away from where they were originally taken."
So obviously, yeah. So clearly cannibals.
Yeah.
Clearly an advanced network of underground cannibal so it'd be like a chud is like a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. So would this be like a bunch of chuds running around here? Just
I guess so. That sounds exactly like
Chud was a cool movie too. We should watch that one. But she kind of sucks in it. No, anyway, it's like pretty cool, right? For that theory, right? But it's such a fucking leap, right? Have they found the remains of bodies? Because scientists have found human remains, and they can tell whether or not these people were primarily eating eating meat, and then they can tell from I think certain disease or whatever, or even I don't know, shit in the bones. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I've heard that I don't know, watching the History Channel and shit like that, and they can say that yes, this tribe was known to eat people or blah blah blah, like based on certain things, right? So has there been any remains of any humans found in any of these caves, or anything to
suggest that they were eaten by other humans?
Maybe, yeah, right. Not I want to give it because it sounds.
It seems that I don't understand why these cannibals would be hiding in caves when there are existing tribes in remote areas that are known to be cannibals, and there are just people walking this earth that have a taste for human flesh and speak about it openly.
Yeah, of course.
So why what is the necessity for these cannibals to be hiding in caves and just snatching people? It seems like there'd be easier ways to go about this.
There definitely is. I mean, live in a populated area. You can go on the internet and find people that that want to be eaten. There was like a famous case of a guy that cut a guy's dick off and cooked it while he was there, and the guy ended up bleeding out, and they had to go to the emergency room or anything like that. Fascinating story, but and they cooked the dick, and apparently it sucked, right? Like imagine going through all of that and then not properly preparing.
Well, that's meat. The other thing is that
why go dick first?
Why go dick first? But
you save the best for last. You think? Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a little. I
don't know. Maybe it's like a cheat. Like
what is it called? The thing like at the end, digestif.
Digestive. Sure. I like that. Like, like my dick would be like like it's not like the main course or anything, right? But it would just be like a nice little chicharron on top, like a little crispy skin or something like that. If you fried it up, right?
A nice little mint at the end of the meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little powdered sugar on there or something, right? It'd be dessert.
Dipped in chocolate?
I mean, my dick has been dessert for years, right? Yeah. Like 4 or 5 people call it that when they see it walking down the street, right? They're like, there goes dessert. Yeah, put some whipped cream on that thing and get it over here.
A little cherry on top.
Sure. Bigger than his balls. Like, which one's the cherry? Do you think, like, a cannibal... Is it like a cannibal family, a cannibal tribe? Do they find one person and it kind of sustains them? Or are they like also hunting and eating other people? Are they just opportunists
These
as
are
well?
All good questions. Right? Like do they eat like berries and nuts and stuff from the earth? Do you find nuts in the earth?
I think nuts grow from like trees and shit.
Yeah, but I guess nuts are berries. What do you mean?
And like, do they find them on the earth? Like,
but I mean, like if you're just,
do you think they come from?
If you're foraging, you don't forage for nuts, do you?
Sure, I think you forage for anything that's forageable, right? I think that
nuts forageable?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so you're eating so when they don't have like their preferred meal, are they eating like they're foraging for nuts and berries? And at that point, again, why are you living this lifestyle to every once in a while get this prized little tasty treat, but the rest of the time you just have to forage?
Do you think that the cannibals are like they're probably just like regular mainly mainly herbivores, right? But like given the certain opportunity or whatever, that maybe to get through the winter months you might need some more fatty or meats to sustain you throughout those times. But let's say there's like a hiker, right, and he's lost and comes across like a group of these people that like maybe sometimes like maybe eat a guy, and I bet they're like, oh dude, like you're all fucked up, you got to go back east like that way and that'll get you back to the road. And the guy's like, oh thanks cannibals, right? So they probably only eat a guy if he like falls off a cliff, right? And then he's like, oh, he's got a satellite phone, let's call for help. And they call and they're like, oh, dead battery, fuck, I guess we got to eat this guy. That's the way I'm picturing this playing out, because like the thought that there's just like bloodthirsty body snatchers running out of the woods and just snatching up some fucking girl named Brenda taking an Instagram photo on top of a mountain is pretty fucked up, right? Just trying to walk through a national park. Like Greg is just fucking got a canoe on his back or something. Like he's just like fucking gonna like portage his way to fucking Idaho or something. They're just gonna fucking eat that guy. And
you'd think like there would be more disappearances and there would be some sort of sighting. They're not.
There's zero evidence.
Yeah,
there's. Are we doing a whole story on a TikTok theory right now?
Yeah.
Oh fuck! Episode 10, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Major speculation. It's interesting though.
But mainly just the idea of cannibalism and like back to the, because I think that's the thing that I've heard. In like accounts, I mean the famous one is the plane crash in the Andes, and they had to eat their fellow passengers. And
that's a funny movie. They go from the butt first and stuff. It's brutal. It's not funny, but I saw it when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, they're gonna eat each other. This is gross. And I'm like, they're eating butt.
One of those guys recently, it was like an anniversary or something like that of this, and he like came out and did an interview. And it was pretty sad.
Really?
He was like, he's like, I don't regret it because
it sucks. But like, honestly, once you get closer to the hole, not that bad. Not that bad.
But like, basically, I've heard that like human meat is not that good because it's very tough. It's very tendony and muscly. Like we don't have a lot of fatty deposits on us.
Well, on an airplane, you got to think there's a fat guy on there, right? Like,
well, I'm sure there are. Well, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But if that's so if all you have is skinnies, then do you go for like a calf muscle or a titty or something? Like what would
I would say titty.
Probably titty.
But
what if there's like a tall skinny guy
cheek.
and you're like, this kid's packing a hog on him, like get it out here.
But even then, it's not like it's not like it'd be like it'd be like, you know, like muscly and stuff. It wouldn't have a lot of like just like meat
marbling,
on
like
it.
a wagyu beef.
Yeah,
or
I would
something?
say
That's a
I would
bummer.
say butt cheek, tits, calf, thigh.
You just munch that box, like would you?
Oh no,
That's terrible. You wouldn't. I'm just saying,
No.
right? If it was like a little cutlet or something, like you pound it out, bread it, and fry it. I'm not saying like one way or the other. I'm saying like if we're already eating a person, then we're gonna try as many things as we can.
Well, yeah,
I think
yeah,
beef cheeks, you know, the cheeks of the animal are sometimes the most
yeah.
delicious, right? So maybe
yeah,
go cheek.
I was gonna say cheek too.
You
yeah,
were gonna
I
say
think,
cheek.
I think, I think those are like the big, the areas that it wouldn't be like tough and chewy, you know?
yeah. Like you're not like I like wings, right? But you're not gonna like fry up fingers with like barbecue sauce, right? Even with a nice sticky glaze or something like
Yeah.
that, like it probably still wouldn't be good.
And like the arms on humans is mostly like muscle and bone.
Yeah, it'd be like a tenderloin. You could overcook that; it would dry out so fast.
Yeah.
Man, maybe just like
gotta
if
be
you
careful.
like good food, don't eat people. Maybe
Yeah.
that's my
From
problem. It's
what
like
I've heard.
I'm just too fond of the food that I'm eating.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of an experience for me, right? So like I want it to be as delicious as possible, and that's probably the only reason I've never eaten a person.
Yeah, and like what if then say you ate you tried human meat and you liked it and then you have the taste for it.
Well, then you get the hunger. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's a tale as old as time. I
Yeah.
mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's the fuckers are since Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I
episode
know.
where they get the
Yes, I
hunger.
have seen that
Oh
one.
my god, so funny. Let's eat some dude.
Yeah. But yeah, any other thoughts on this cannibal TikTok cannibal story? Don't get your news from TikTok.
Yeah, I guess don't get your news from TikTok. Like the link that you sent me was so fucking frustrating.
I
So it was just
know.
pop-ups and like I had to go through so much bullshit just to actually read the stupid fucking story. But
I know.
but it is interesting the way that they've matched up the map of the highest concentration of
yeah, that is interesting.
of people missing in national parks, and they correlate perfectly with like the locations of these tunnels. Very interesting. I would like to see a picture of where the fucking national parks are in America, because like if that's just where they're located, then I'm not.
Yeah,
you know,
agreed. I do.
like,
Yeah, I
super-
did love that element. I love a good sort of infographic. I am a visual learner, so I appreciate that. I liked that part of it. But yeah, it wasn't a. It's not a reliable news story.
Yeah, not
I
a
was
lot of
just kind of looking
concrete
for
stuff
something
there.
to talk about, and this had some overlap with some of our interests.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, I don't think that there's people out there in the caves and in U.S.
Yeah, fuck that. Like
in
maybe
parks.
maybe there's like one
If they
guy.
are,
but
why
like,
would
I
they-
wouldn't say there's like a group of them.
And why would they be living in national parks? You think they would go somewhere a little bit more secluded?
Well, I think a national park, like I think they're actually pretty vast and protected land, so you can kind of get comfortable and hunker down in one without, you know, like a big, box store fucking,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
a development coming through.
But
and
I
things
feel like there
that.
are more remote areas that aren't parkland.
Yeah, that's fair too.
But maybe
But
if
maybe-
this is a
but-
big population, then maybe it's not.
You also want to go national parks though if you're a group of underground network of cannibals, because you also do get some foot traffic.
Very true.
So you do kind of want to set yourself up
that's-
near a food source. So
That's a good point. You want somewhere that people are going to go. So you
That's
don't want to be
interesting.
entirely secluded.
yeah,
Interesting.
wild.
So this would not even be where Big Feet live. They would be like they want to get the fuck away from people, whereas cannibals want to live amongst the people.
Exactly.
So like, why the fuck? It doesn't even make sense logically.
It's
if
stupid.
you know
It's just more
anything
fucking
about-
clickbait, right? It's more
Yeah.
people that are trying to sully the name of the noble Bigfoot
Mm-hmm.
and use it for their own personal gain, for their own stupid fucking
Yeah.
theories that don't have any scientific or logical backing to them, right?
Mhm.
Like stay in your fucking lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Like some of that shit just like it upsets me. It's interesting, but like stop using big feet, for
Yeah,
for
as
your
a
own reasons,
scapegoat.
right? Yeah, exactly.
A
Stop
scapefoot.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Oh, that's awesome. No, you see, I mean, so yeah, super interesting.
Yeah.
I bet like looking at a young Tom Petty here,
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna tell me that this guy's never eaten a person,
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you you're full of shit. That's just me.
Okay, well, let's move on to the album then, because
Should
I'm
we?
excited
Half
to
an hour
get.
into this thing?
I'm
fucking,
excited to get into this.
Okay, Chucky, you got to talk. So
Okay.
I was being a jerk last night, right?
No, you weren't being a jerk.
I was just telling you. Okay, so my history with this album apparently goes deep. Excuse me, my mom's huge fan of Tom Petty,
Mm-hmm.
and as I was listening to it, like it didn't bring up like bad memories from my childhood or whatever. My
Mhm.
childhood was okay.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom's name is Shelly,
Mm-hmm.
and Here Comes My Girl,
Mhm.
Shelly. And I've just heard like stepdads fucking try to serenade my mom to that, like drunk on the side of a fucking riverbed and shit like this. I'm a fucking kid, and I'm like,
yeah.
kinda fuck this. So
Okay.
I
yeah.
needed to rebel when I was a kid, and I
Yes.
realized that I was like, oh, this is what I was rebelling against. I
Right.
get it. So I had a fun time listening to it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But okay, so Damn the Torpedoes is the third studio album by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, released October 19th, 1979. And like I said, it's pretty much widely seen as their breakthrough album. And it really is sort of like in my opinion, it's like the perfect sort of, capsule of their like classic rock sound. Like you pick any song off this album and you're like, yeah, that's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. That's their sound.
It's classic rock.
And it's sort of like their first two albums. Tom Petty has always been a brilliant songwriter, but the first two albums, they were sort of still musically finding their sound, and they had moments where you can see what they're gonna be and see the brilliance, like American Girl on their very first fucking album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Listen to Her Heart on their second album. Like they had moments, but then this album, it all came together, and like the music, they found their sound like sonically, and it sort of went with his lyrics.
He has such a Bob Dylan-y. Some people trying to push you
I
around.
think his voice is more melodic than Bob Dylan.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but the kind of the structure and the way that it's like kind of like a mumble through your verse and then belt out your chorus or whatever. So it was kind of fun. It's the most mockable album. Like as a kid, you know what I mean, right? Like I think that I spent a lot of time in the backseat just like remixing the lyrics of this thing.
Yeah. And so the Heartbreakers, there were a few lineup changes. So just for background info, the lineup for this album is obviously Tom Petty vocals and guitar, Mike Campbell on guitar, Benmont Tench on keyboards, and I think he did some backup vocals, Ron Blair on bass, and Stan Lynch on drums, and I think he did backup vocals as well. And so this is like the OG lineup. And so the backstory to this record. And so this is what I wanted to tell you about it last night, because I think it might sort of change how you listen to the record.
Okay.
And I think this might make you like Tom Petty as a person a little bit more.
I don't know who this guy is as a person. It's just like, well, we were saying like if I'm flipping through the radio and I'm like hearing this and I'm like, fuck. But it's also so like, I guess like classic or nostalgia, whatever way. Like it's so at home, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, that like I'll skip all the way through all the radio stations and like I'll just be like, fuck. I guess I'll listen to Tom Petty.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to tell you this last night, but I decided to wait until the podcast.
Who is Tom Petty?
But
Break him
basically,
down.
well, I'm gonna tell you the story behind this record, and it'll give you a good idea of who he was as a person.
Okay.
So the Heartbreakers had been signed to Shelter Records for 4 years when they were making this record, and then MCA bought Shelter Records' parent company. Bought the parent company ABC, and then at this time Petty, when he signed his contract with Shelter 4 years prior, he was a kid and it was a shitty fucking contract, as like so many young artists signed shitty contracts. He gave up all of his publishing royalties in it. He was making like no money. And so when MCA bought Shelter's parent company, Tom Petty wanted to get out of the contract, but they didn't like that, obviously, and so they sued him. And he basically threatened to, they were working on this album at the time, he threatened to shelve this album, and then MCA responded by threatening to confiscate all of the band's session tapes, which was legally their property. And so then Petty went to one of the studio assistants and basically told him, after every session, hide these tapes somewhere and don't tell me where they are. And then...
He's got to trust that fucking guy.
And then Petty filed himself. He filed for bankruptcy, which then forced his contract to go into renegotiation. And he still stayed strong. It was like, fuck you. I want like my publishing royalties. I want a better deal. Until eventually MCA caved and gave him what he wanted.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so then Petty was still on contract with him.
What did he want? Like a private jet? $150 million.
So he stayed on contract, but it was a much more lucrative deal. And it gave him complete like creative freedom and control. Returned all of his publishing rights, and he basically made them give him his own like sort of boutique label attached to this, Backstreet, which then this record was recorded on this label and the following two as well. And so it's kind of like one of the first and one of the only stories of an artist taking on a major record label and basically calling their bluff and forcing them to fold and give him what he wanted and deserved as an artist. And then this album came out 4 months later, and he titled it Damn the Torpedoes. Like, fuck you guys, I'm doing my thing anyways.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I thought it was like a war reference.
Well, it's like a quote from like a general at war was saying like, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead type thing.
Gangster.
So it's become like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then like another sort of fun follow-up to that story is that for the next album, MCA had like superstar pricing for their records. So basically most records they released were $8.98, but some bands they sold it for $9.98. And so the album after this, they wanted it to be $9.98. And Tom Petty threatened to either withhold the album or name the album 898 because he didn't want the label to price gouge his fans. And again, the label folded and gave him what he wanted,
you know
and stayed 898.
Also into that, well, you see around my fucking room here, I've spent a lot of goddamn money on like records and CDs and shit. When I was a kid, that's the reason why I have so many like compilations, like Punkaramas and Fat Record compilations and stuff, because they were like $5, $6, $9 or something like that, right? Like that's affordable. But I mean, the rest of them, they were like $19, $20. By the time I was graduating, $25 a fucking CD or something, right? Before even getting into vinyl, which they had like used stores and stuff, so it was a little bit easier to find something a little bit at a better price, but it was always used. I respect the shit out of that.
Right?
Yeah, I think for like a young kid, especially like getting into music, I know how important it is to stretch like whatever, you know, that $20 or, you know, like the birthday money or shoveling snow money. And I was still at that age where like every dime that you have, like I'm going to the music store and I'm going to buy, you know, a record. And if like, you know, anything that you could do to keep $1 in that kid's pocket, pretty cool.
Yeah.
That kind of that hits a young Johnny DeVito right in the heart. So all
and
right,
he even said,
all right, Tom, two cools out of me.
And he was like obviously $1 isn't that big a difference, but like
fucking is when you're
exactly. One, to kids it is, and two, he said, if they do this now, it's not going to stop. Like, I have to put my fucking foot down now. Yeah. And he has his whole career, he had a history, a precedent of standing up for himself and standing up for what he thought he was right, and not letting major labels fuck him around. Even like when they had 2 records out, when he went to bat against MCA. Before this, it was before they even had like big hits come out. and he took on this huge record label and won because he filed for fucking bankruptcy.
American Girl was a
to make
fucking
his
banger.
point. Yeah, but it wasn't a hit.
No?
When it came out, it wasn't a hit.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
that's it's really cool. It's
and even like later on in his career, a tire company wanted to use Mary's Got a Brand New Car for their commercial, and he said no. So then they basically used a fake song that sounded like that song, and so he sued them for $1 million and won.
Tom's just steady winning out here. I mean, there's like artistic integrity involved there as well, especially with that kind of thing. Iggy Pop is the shit. And it's pretty like undeniable when you're a kid and you hear Lust for Life.
Yeah,
it's such a fun song. And then even growing up now, that like fucking in my 30s, and there's like that song has been repurposed for just about every advertising campaign possible. But it was like the Strokes or the Hives or whichever one of like those bands. I think it was the Hives or whatever. But they're Are You Gonna Be My Girl is Lust for Life.
Yeah.
And like the exact same dun 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 dun, and it's a fun fucking riff.
Yeah.
Both of them are good fucking songs because that guitar riff is so goddamn undeniable.
Yeah.
But I remember, you know, like hearing classic rock radio or whatever, right? With like, and even like my dad, my uncle, like everybody in my family was like either listening to like Tom Petty, you know, or like AC/DC and shit like that. And like Iggy Pop, granted, wasn't the most popular artist of that my childhood, you know, or like my parents or anybody that was like listening to music at that time.
Yeah.
Lust for Life is a fucking staple, right? Like it's a classic rock goddamn staple. And I remember, I think being like 12 or whatever, like whenever Are You Gonna Be My Girl came out on like Much Music, and you're like, you sons of bitches.
Right.
To the point where like they stole the goddamn video is basically the exact same too, right? They have like a white background and lame. And I don't know if Iggy fucking got a buck from them, but he deserved it. So like I support what Tom
well, similarly, there was a Sam Smith song, I forget which one it was, one of the big ones that came out that was very close to a Tom Petty song. And so they went to court over it, and Tom won. But afterwards, Tom came out. He was like, it was an honest mistake. I don't think he did it intentionally, but like,
but fuck you, pay me.
But I don't even think it was Tom Petty that took him to court. I forget what the exact story was. I just know afterwards Tom was super cool about it. He wasn't like, fuck that guy. He was like, I do think it was an honest mistake, but this is my music.
Yeah, you can get like there's like been weird legal battles. I think most famously like between CCR and John Fogerty. The whatever was basically happening when John Fogerty leaves the band and leaves the label, he goes on to record new music, and I think it was like Run Through the Jungle or something sounded like CCR, and he's like, yeah, no shit, because I fucking wrote all the CCR songs. Like anything I write is gonna be fucking CCR. Born on the Bayou, fucking San Francisco guy that's never been to the fucking South. But still, if you can have any ownership over that, I think it's fucking important. Say fuck you and
so
get your shit, right?
All of these sort of go to why Tom Petty is so respected by other artists, because he has always stood up for the artist. Since he was a fucking kid, he always stood up for what was right and wasn't afraid to fucking file for bankruptcy to make his fucking point.
There's a point of believing in yourself so much that you're like, fuck this. I'll file for chapter 11. I'll file for chapter fucking 15. Like, throw the book at me. Let's burn all this shit down. And I'm going to take, because he fucking had to know Here Comes My Girl is on as a refugee. And like, I mean, there's like, there's like 4 or 5 fucking like all-time classics on this album.
They were recording this album as this was happening. And so you can see in the lyrics how it was influenced. In Refugee, there's a line that's like, everybody's got to fight to be free. And shit, so it clearly like influenced as they were recording type thing. But yeah, he was fucking recording Damn the Torpedoes, and he was like, I'm gonna get a better fucking contract out of this. You are not taking my publishing.
Yeah, you've just bent me over the pile of your own money and fucked me for whatever little bit that I'm gonna get. Like knowing, it's a. I respect the music lacks a sense of urgency and like danger, whatever there is, like the thing in rock and roll that drives me to it. This record kind of lacks for me. So aesthetics aside, there's a level of cool to that I definitely do respect. So like I'm not going to go and listen to this record after this episode because it's Tom fucking Petty and the Heartbreakers, and I'm going to hear all of these songs 100 times again in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And involuntarily, but knowing that information, that's then I'm not gonna be as quick to like somebody really pushed you around. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And there are other. I mean, later in later episodes, I'll bring in a different Tom Petty record that sort of it's different from this stuff, so you can sort of see that side. But I wanted to start here, and I wanted to tell you that so you can see Tom Petty is a little punk rock. He's a little bit punk rock.
Those
his personality,
those moves,
his
absolutely,
yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's more punk rock than a lot of punk rock people. That's more punk rock move than a lot of.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
he's
I
cooler
totally
than you might think. But so
fucking cooler than I am. That's for sure.
So sort of on this topic, do you have like moments, or anything that sticks out where you're like, fuck everything, I'm doing it anyway, I'm doing it my way, and it feels like you're sort of going up against impossible odds, but you push through because you know that it's right for you, and like you so strongly, not like arrogantly, but almost like naively believe that you're right and that you're doing the right thing, and you don't give a shit about the hill that you have to climb?
That's a great question. Really fucking good one. To the like, I'm not. Nothing comes off the top of my head like in a sense of like fighting for freedom or for like inequality or like standing up for something that should be said, but like just the way that I'm living my life. Like currently, the reason that we met, I was unhappy 27-year-old journeyman plumber, and it's like get married and have a family and like do all of that shit, and like the idea of just like living the monotony of like a day-to-day 40-hour work week and like a rat in a cage or a fucking hamster on a wheel, just like constantly doing something and being so unhappy, but making so much money that my life is like comfortable enough that like the little bit of time that I do have off, I'll just justify it by going on cool trips and just partying my face off or whatever, right? But like Sunday is always, my brother said the coolest thing to me. I was watching a Roddy Piper documentary at my brother's house last night. I was waiting for him to get over there. He was going and buying the ingredients for tacos, and so when he is gone, I'm watching the Roddy Piper documentary, and at the very end of it, I just start bawling. Roddy Piper is a hero for being a heel. All right, that he's the best bad guy. I think, in wrestling. And this documentary just like it shows the man and what how injuries kind of plagued him, and then he went on to have like a successful film career. Kind of as like a B movie film guy. He was in They Live, which is a fucking fantastic performance. I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. It's the shit. So then he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean, right? So it's this big thing, but like his whole plight of just like, I'm never going to be able to do what I want to do again. And there was such a quick decline from, his his height to kind of being like almost incoherent, basically, due to illness and injury and stuff like that, and then being dead. And I'm bawling my fucking eyes out at this moment, right? And my brother phones me at the time, and I was just like, and I'm just kind of weeping, and I'm just going, man, this Roddy Piper documentary. He's like, dude, I know, I cried to that too. And he says, dude, on Sunday I cry watching commercials. Yeah. Which is like, when you're living that kind of life where you just, if your weekend is so rough and it takes all of the dopamine out of your body, totally, to the point where you're watching like a State Farm commercial and like crying your fucking eyes out, then there's something that you need to do to switch that. And like, yeah, I like to write. I like to tell jokes, like to make stories and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
like, you know, pursuing screenwriting, but always knowing that like comedy was like the thing that I wanted to do. So yeah, like the way that I'm living my life now is that, and the rest of my family and yeah, some of my peers are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Right.
why are you wasting so much time and like energy really burning the candle at both ends when you have something here that's like okay
Yeah.
and like really good for you? And then to me it's not, right? Because
Yeah.
if that's what I have to do for the rest of my life, then it's not like my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, like, I obviously can relate to that. Yeah, it's weird. Growing up on the island, most people don't leave.
Yeah.
They might leave Duncan and
Mhm.
go to Victoria, but most people tend to stay on the island. And so I went to school in Montreal, and the whole time I was there, I just felt like I always felt sort of like I didn't fit in on the island, but I really wanted to. I wanted
Yeah.
to be like an island kid, and like my
You seem like
parents.
an island, like you
But
seem like an
I
island
am. I
gal to
fucking
me.
grew up there.
Well,
But
that's
like
what
the thing, like my parents aren't from there. Everyone, their parents are fucking from there.
You
We
gotta have a
moved
fucking
there.
straw hat. And,
We,
like, what is an island
but
person?
we
Like,
moved
you're
there when I was. Me and my brothers were all born in Squamish, and then we moved to the island when I was like two or three. And just because of that, I always felt like we were sort of outsiders, and we were always kind of everyone knew that we weren't from that my parents weren't from there originally, because everyone's parents, their parents, and their parents, they're all
That's
from
a really
the fucking
weird
island.
fucking locals only kind
know.
of fuck you.
And even when I fucking have lived there since I was 2, I always sort of felt different.
Bunch of
And
fucking
also,
dorks.
but also because my parents have a different mindset, and they always kind of wanted us to branch off. And I sort of
Yeah,
was fighting
sure.
against that.
Oh, so interesting. So okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then the island kids have island parents that are like about like, you know,
Staying.
They're
They're
about
about
where we are.
Yeah,
this
they're
is
like,
where
you find a good, logging job or a good teaching job or whatever, and you meet someone in high school and you marry them, and then you
I'm
have
from
your
a small
family
town
here.
Too. That's some bullshit. That's just like
I know,
such,
exactly.
Yeah,
So-
but it's
and
a small
so,
town too. But even I think so. But my small town is easier to get away from just because there's fucking road access to the rest of the
Yeah.
world, or the rest of North America, or whatever. From that
Yeah,
point,
you can
right?
you could get anywhere else on the. You have to. You're.
You know how long it took me to get to the island? So you took me there. Fuck that. But yeah, sorry to interrupt, but the idea that where you're from is where you're gonna like where your roots are is where you're gonna continue
Yeah.
to spread them is a pretty common small town thing, but
Totally.
it's bullshit, and it's shitty that you didn't feel like at home in a place where it was like you're fucking
And
home.
I think like I really like growing up. I thought I wanted that. Because I just wanted to fit in, and
Yeah,
I
of
never
course, yeah.
felt like I did. But then I went to university in Montreal. And the whole time I was there, I just wanted to be back on the island because that's where my friends were. And I was just like, I'm going to move back to the island. I'm going to find a place in Victoria. I'm going to get a job doing like social media marketing and
Yeah,
shit. And
yeah.
and I'm going to settle down in Victoria. But then I got back to the island and I was so fucking miserable. And I couldn't understand why. And then, I was there for about a year and a half, and then ended up through a series of random events and stuff, ended up applying to VFS, and then to make the decision to leave again. Obviously my family, like my parents and my brothers and like my friends there and stuff, they're all very supportive, but it was still sort of
Sure,
that
of course,
feeling
yeah.
like most people don't, like, they don't understand. They're like, why the fuck would you leave when you could just stay here and work and like meet someone and like settle down? And then
But like no, that's the best part about it, right? Like that's the part that I like about it, is that the thing that seems so obvious to them, that's so strange that you're not that you're not doing, right? The thing that's so obvious to them that isn't so obvious to you, right? If you turn that coin over, right? Like the idea that they're staying there is so fucking alien to you, right? Like at some point there's no,
and even
like,
just,
you can't settle for that, or you'll go fucking crazy.
And the idea of just like working 9 to 5, I've always been so fucking against that. And so to the point my parents used to get so mad at me when I was a kid, when I was like a teenager, and like I would have and at the high school I went to, it was so full on,
Yeah.
like 6 days a week, 12 hours. I was at school fucking 12 hours a day. I had Sundays off and
Jesus
that's it.
Fucking Christ.
And so I couldn't work throughout the school year. And then
Oh,
summer
shit.
would come and we'd have 2 months and I just wanted to fucking relax and
Yeah.
just chill. And then, but like I had to work and I would put up such a fight and my parents could not understand. I literally remember my dad saying, I don't think I've ever met anyone who has been so unmotivated by like making money as you. Because like you just want to do nothing, and I'm like, I just want to do me. Like I just don't want to be unhappy the 2 months that I get off a year. But and so even like now, and like once I came here and did VFS and stuff, and I realized like I'm not against working. I'm not a fucking lazy person. I've always worked. I started working. I think my first job, I was like fucking like 13 or 14 or something.
I'm with you there.
And like,
there's
it's
a
not like I
difference between
didn't.
constantly working and like now when you're, deciding like what you want to do with your life proper.
Yeah.
It should be like, I'm the hardest worker that I fucking know
Mm-hmm.
by circumstance because it's just been beat into me.
Yeah.
When I'm motivated and I'm working on something that I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like then like the amount of hours that I put into doing the shit that I love to do on top of the fucking job that I have to be at
Yeah.
is ridiculous, right? Like the motivation is there. So if you could take me out of my 40-hour a week job, put me into
Mm-hmm.
any environment that is that's creative or whatever, where I want to be, the amount of like the work is going to get done, right?
Yeah.
It's that I don't want to work for some fucking asshole. I don't want to be at work. I don't want and I don't want the job to define a piece of me, right? Too many people are like, I'm a plumber. Like that's your fucking job, man. It's like being a cop or something like that. Like fuck off. Like it's just that's the place where you like get your check from.
Yeah.
And that doesn't define like who you are as a person.
And I don't want to spend that like big of a percentage of my life doing something that makes me miserable.
Fuck yeah.
And like even like the last
I'm with you there, Jax.
Yeah, even like the last job that I had, the hours were obviously insane, and it was like a job in film, which was cool, but I was still like working in the production office, and it was like I'm good at it and I can do it, but I'm not fucking happy. I mean, I was fucking miserable. And even
We
still
spoke a lot through that time.
but even still, like to your point, like when comedy was still on when I was at that job, I would work fucking 12 hours a day and then get in my car and like change in my car, then drive to a spot downtown and then go do another spot downtown and then go home and sleep for like, fucking 4 hours or whatever and do 12 hours again the next day.
That's see, when you have something that you're pushing towards, then that work becomes like, it's so shitty that we're not like able to do it right now. I mean, in a few months we will be able to. Fucking stoked for that. But the when there's something there that you want to do, right, then it's there. But like depression and like that lethargic fuck this attitude when there's like when you can just sit and do nothing because everything else in your life that you're doing because you have to, whether it be school or work or whatever, right, takes so much out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's been this fucking pandemic, honestly. Like for me, that's been a lot of it of just kind of coming home, and if like we're not hanging out or if I'm not going over to my brother's, then I'll probably just like rage drink a case of beer and just think about like what I'm gonna say when I get a chance to say it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like when
totally.
you get back, when you get a chance to fucking be on stage or whatever, right? So like I have a ridiculous stack of notes and shit, like a fucking crazy person, where I'm just like constantly writing down and like preparing for this thing that might happen again down the road, right? It's I mean, it's still like a form of work, but it's completely alien because the repetition isn't there, the structure isn't there, and like the opportunity isn't there, right? Like you can't just go and make something out of nothing, right? Which is essentially like what we're doing. You kind of like, pivot and do it in a different direction, right? But you can even say like the amount of work that goes into this, the amount of work that, is like, that's the fun that we have, right? Doing all the other bullshit during the week or whatever is just like, allows us the opportunity to do this shit, which is great. But I cannot wait to get the fuck out of there.
Oh no. Well, yeah, and to that point too, like this last job, when I left and I like told, my boss and people at my work, like I don't want to come back, and everyone is sort of, because the mentality in film is sort of like, if you have a job, you need to, if you have an opportunity,
Yeah,
you
we're gonna
have
fill
to
one
take
and go
it.
to
You
the
have
next
to
one. Go boom, boom, boom.
And I was like, no, like, I'm not fucking happy.
Yeah.
And everyone like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, and I loved everyone at my job, and I like still think about it. I'm like, it was nice to be around people every day, but I was so unhappy at that job. And it was funny, like, explaining that to people who I really liked and doing a job that I was good at and I was helpful. And they were like, what do you mean? Like, you have this job lined up. Why wouldn't you come back? And being like, I don't fucking want to. I don't want to do this.
Same fucking thing just across at my work. You know, we're getting to the end of the job, and then the higher ups are coming in, and they're saying like, okay, so these are our plans. This is where we're gonna send you the next. I'm like, I gotta stop you right there.
Yeah.
You know, during COVID, this was here. Like, I have a journeyman ticket, so like, I'd be dumb not to make a little bit of money while everything is shut down. But like, I'm not going. They asked me like, what are you gonna do after? And I'm like, I'm gonna go and figure it out.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm not here, that affords me more time to work at the thing that I want to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
so like, I will take less money and shit like that. Families fucking thrive on my income, do okay, right? But like, I can't, right? I will.
Yeah, exactly. It's not worth
nuts.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Fuck it. Like, I don't care. I'm not motivated by that cash at all.
No,
right? Like,
yeah,
if there's a monetary gain at the end of, you know, like what we're trying to do, you know, fuck yeah. Like, that's,
obviously,
that's
like, we're working
but
towards making money, but we could both be making more money right now doing other things.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I don't care. Like, what I want to do is make cool shit with my friends, and that's it. Because, you know, like, then life's, you know, for you, right? Like, otherwise, like, you're just walking through a national park waiting for a fucking underground network of cannibals to come and fucking eat your face, and like, that's not the way that I get down.
And like,
what if they go cheek first?
Like, right into the
oh, you gotta get it while it's still fresh. Hey, Johnny's got the
like,
cheek.
they keep you alive to keep the. What was I just fucking reading?
Well, it's like adrenochrome. Like, that's
it was in Galapagos when they were talking about how they kept like the cows alive or whatever for as long as he wasn't talking about.
He was talking about farming and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was giving like context.
Check it out.
Yeah, but anyways, it was about like how like sailors and shit like would keep the cows and shit alive as they like cut off pieces of their body to like keep the meat fresh.
Oh
and
yeah,
shit.
absolutely.
Anyways,
if you were gonna put like, so that they would take like goats and shit like that, put it on an island, and then like they would just like run around the island until they would come back, right? And then they would have like animals on that island or whatever that they could eat, right? You're gonna drop one person on a desert island so you could circle back in like a month and eat them. Who you dropping on that
island? Okay, wait. Explain that again. What is the? We're dropping a person on the island to eat this person.
Yeah, when you circle back around. Just in a nautical sense. Right, because you're sailing on, right? So like the whole thing is like on your sailing route, you're gonna go, you know, to A and do your merchant trading or whatever, right? And you're gonna come back and you might need a place to stop and have a meal. You know what I mean?
But wouldn't this person, if you're dropping a person on the island with a bunch of animals, wouldn't you just eat the animals?
Jackie, it was such a what if. Like, no, not anymore. Like, no. It doesn't matter anymore. I just wanted you to say like, if you had to eat one person on Earth, who would it be? Because could you eat somebody that you hate, or could you eat somebody that you love, or would it have to be indifferent?
It would have to be a stranger. It couldn't be anyone who I knew personally. It would be too. It'd be too close, you know. It'd have to be someone who I have no association. Like when I see their face,
you'd want to know them, I think, because like
neutral.
because I mean, what if you're but like so you're eating a stranger, but he's like shit for dinner conversation. Like, you want an interesting person. I'm just saying, right?
No, I wouldn't want them to be interesting. Then I wouldn't want to eat them.
I want, like, Alan Moore. He wrote a lot of cool stories.
Okay.
Like, let's talk about Watchmen. And you'd be like, the movie sucks.
Yeah, I don't know how to eat. It's hard to... I just, like, can't put myself in the mindset of wanting to eat a person.
Nobody wants to eat a guy.
I mean, like, in terms of like taste and texture, I'd want it to be like a fat person. I want it to be a little chunky.
Oh, for sure you want a little chunkster. Wait, is swallowing cum cannibalism?
I've been asked this before. Not cannibalism. I've been asked if...
Have I asked you this before?
Probably.
Oh, I apologize.
No, it's not cannibalism. The question that I always get if I'm around... men that I don't know and it comes up that I'm vegan, it's always,
yes, of course.
are you vegan if you swallow? I don't think that counts as I don't think that counts as cannibalism, and I don't think it makes you not a vegan if you swallow.
If you choose to swallow cum, you are still a vegan, according to Jackie.
Yeah.
According to science and people that care about...
Based on the research I've done.
Can't argue with that. I've always been a meat eater, so like the belly full of cum that I have doesn't put me in like a different group of people. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm still on the same team.
I don't think it's cannibal. I think you would have to eat like the meat for it to be cannibalism. But anyways, let's move on to the next question.
Oh, we got more questions?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Cool.
So after Tom Petty dropped out of high school, he had a bunch of odd jobs, one of which was a grave digger in Florida, which he said he took because you didn't have to dress sharply. You could wear whatever you wanted. And he also said that he got his foot caught in a lawnmower on his first day. Just fun fact.
He's just trying to get EI.
So what do you think about like ghosts and cemeteries and like the lore around graves and stuff? And like, so when I was in Scotland, we went to Edinburgh, and there's an old cemetery there, and a lot of the graves have these cages around
that's
it.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's because like back in those days, they truly believed that people will come out of their graves, and they wanted to keep them in. So do you think what are your thoughts on the undead? Do you think a zombie apocalypse is forthcoming?
I think that like a zombie apocalypse, because like Jackie, you know I love some ghosts and goblins and ghouls, right? You know, but like more so about ghosts and shit like that. It's like spirits and what. Yeah. So like spirits active in a graveyard. I definitely do think I grew up next to a graveyard, so I'm like really like spook enthusiast for sure. I like Monster Mashing. And then even in like my high school days, I'd like sneak into the graveyard and like do like drugs and nefarious things in there with my friends and stuff like that. I had sex in a graveyard one time. It was crazy. Anyway, it's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry, I'm just remembering. Just going back to a better time. Having sex and doing drugs in graveyards. I do believe that the possibility of like raising the dead is, I think that it's not out of the realm of possibility. Yeah. But I do think that like the way that's gonna happen isn't gonna be like a Night of the Living Dead thing where like a body that's been like, you know, chemically fucked up from the U.S. government gets like accidentally cremated, and then it goes in the sky, and then acid rains down onto a graveyard, and then like a bunch of like punk rock Night of the Living Dead comes out. Even though that's my favorite movie version of the thing, I think it would be more of like a 28 days later kind of situation where like some kind of virus breaks out, and then you're kind of getting like a zombie apocalypse from that thing. But then I don't know if that would be technically a zombie. You'd have to flatline and be dead and then come back from the dead. Ooh, Jackie,
but what
I
if
don't know.
Their brains were in like a zombie state?
If they, that would be the thing, right? But I think from the classic,
undead,
like the classic zombie need brains to live. Unfortunately, I'm not there with it. Yeah. Like same thing with like mummies. Like I know that mummies, like mummification exists, right? But I'm not afraid of like a mummy walking around. No. Right? Werewolf, obviously. Vampire, a little more open to it, but maybe not. And I think like I say obviously to werewolves because like the idea of like shapeshifters and things like that have just been like in like ancient lore of like
I like that.
You know what I mean? I'm super into it.
I'm
right?
into that.
Yeah,
and same with vampires
sure.
too. With bats,
aliens,
obviously.
You know, so it's like stuff like this. So I'll kind of pick and choose the phenomena, and like so a zombie. Where it does make for like great storytelling. It's a bottle episode, right? Like the way that I look at the zombie movie is like, you know, it's there's like there's one structure to it, and you can fiddle around with it a little bit, right? But the main thing is still there. You basically got to hunker down until you make a last stand and get rescued, kind of thing. Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't think that we could see something where like the undead like physically comes back unless it's like the most extraordinary event to ever take place in human history.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I actually I have almost the exact same opinion on zombies.
Fuck
so
yeah.
like
We don't get there very
obviously
often. That's
yeah.
cool.
So we like I love paranormal phenomena, but I think my opinion on zombies is always that, as you said, it's a great storytelling device.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit too much ingrained in our popular culture now, where it's just like something that people go to.
Yes.
Like they're like, oh, it's going to be the zombie apocalypse or
Yeah.
whatever. It's just so it's overused.
We've had
almost,
a decade of like
in
too
my
much
opinion,
zombies.
where it's
maybe
like
even
everyone's like,
20
oh,
years.
zombies, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and it's the one thing now where it's so overused. When people say zombies, in my head, I'm like, you really fucking think that people are going to come out of there? It's like the one paranormal thing where I get rational about it.
Like we
I'm
have
like,
a
there's no
podcast where we
fucking
talk
way.
about
Yeah.
aliens and Bigfoot.
Yeah. And I like look
more
at people
than
like they're
music.
idiots. I'm like, zombie apocalypse, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like I can't. It's hard to call
But it is a
somebody an
fun
idiot.
storytelling device. Shaun of the Dead, one of the best fucking comedy films of all time. Well,
I think,
the best zombie film.
I think but
Yeah.
like I mean, it goes on like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
Not even a zombie movie, but it has like the way that they did it, hilarious. And I'm gonna even go like Night of the Living Dead because it's like punk and campy and
Classic.
stupid. And there's a part where like with the zombie swarms
Yes.
in that movie are great
Yes,
because
yes,
there's like
yes.
10 people dressed up like zombies and then 50 extras behind them, so they're all just like
yeah.
swarming. In
Well,
the thing.
that was the
It's-
template for,
Oh, for sure, and
everything
it
to
was
come.
it was old, right? It was like I mean low
Exactly.
budget or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It was definitely a budget flick, but there is like where the zombie like goes into the ambulance or the cop car, I can't remember, but he goes on the radio and he goes to the radio and goes, "Send more cops."
Yeah, yeah. Oh
That's
my
the shit
God,
that
yeah.
I love, right?
Yeah.
But if you flip that coin over, like it's a great tool. Like I love like horror comedy. Anytime that like that's a really good one to fucking to mix.
It's the best genre
I
crossover.
honestly like
as you know.
Scary Movie, House of
Yeah.
Horrors, fucking. I mean, the list could really go on, but
Peepers.
I'm fucking Dracula Dead and loving it. I fucking love that. Leslie Nielsen's shit. But if you do turn the coin over, there's people that have made like a campy kind of, you know, weird genre, very heartbreaking. You see the opening scene of 28 Weeks Later, where the husband has to like, he basically looks at his wife and makes the decision to leave her. So she's kind of hiding in the attic and like, look, and he's supposed to get the boat and kind of like come back and save her kind of fucking thing. I can't remember exactly what happens, but she's like watching him from the yard and he like looks at her and she basically watches the husband leave. And I mean, it's a really fucking heartbreaking moment, but it's the only thing that he could have done to save his own life. And I believe the life of the children. I can't remember I gotta go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But that opening, I believe it's 28 Weeks Later. Yeah, it's fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Right? So, a great tool. You know. If
great for
Yeah.
movies, great for stories. I'm not as into it.
No, it doesn't.
Because
It's not getting me hard, Jackie.
You
It's
don't
not.
spot. Yeah, me neither.
It's not getting. It's not getting me wet. It's not getting you hard.
Yeah.
I don't think we're into this.
Yeah. You don't. There's no zombie sightings or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
like in the, do we believe in like voodoo or
Yes.
like so like in a sense like, oh fuck, could somebody? No, we're gonna leave it at that. We'll leave it at that right now.
okay. So final question, and then we'll land with this.
Okay.
So basically,
Windstorm.
no more cans by the windows.
I know. I may or may not have. No, we won't say it.
Yeah.
We won't say it here.
So Mark Maron has this bit where he basically says that like in these divisive times, and this is like years old too, so but it's still relevant today. In like the country is so divided in the States and in Canada too, North America, everywhere.
Yeah.
But petty is sort of the one thing that all Americans can agree on, like sort of no matter where you're
Being
from.
petty or Tom Petty?
Tom Petty.
Okay.
And so no matter where you're from or like your political views or what kind of music you like, there's probably at least one Petty song that you really dig. And I think
Oh, you
that
bitch. Yeah, I have
yeah.
one.
And so I think a lot of that has to do because he's so like authentically himself, and he
Yeah.
created this sound that is so classic, and his lyrics, the way he says things is very relatable. It's very plain and simple, and you can sort of latch on to something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so do you think now though that anyone can still do that, can like unite people like that, or is everything just so like overtly political that's impossible for one artist or like person to have mass appeal like that? So do we have to sort of like pick sides?
Interesting.
Because even like Petty, when I believe the album Southern Accents, they use sort of part of the Confederate flag as their promo, and then years later, in like I want to say like 2015 or something like that, Tom Petty did an interview and he was like, that was it was one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever done, like at the time, because he grew up in Florida. He's like, I'm a Southern guy. I always thought of it just like a South, being proud to be from the South thing, but now I know the history, and I know, and I can see right? That like that I can understand now that any any black person or whatever who'd see that flag felt marginalized, and I feel like such a fucking idiot that I ever did that. He even went back and corrected himself,
right?
But
it was
that,
on the
but
fucking
still,
roof of the General Lee, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it was such a
even,
pop culture thing, right?
Yeah.
So for like, I mean, I
and so he has obviously, and later in his career, he definitely got more political, but he always sort of like, he kind of seemed like apolitical in his persona, and he was able to
That's why he sells fucking tickets, right?
Exactly.
He can sell tickets in San Francisco, and he could sell them in fucking Dallas, Texas.
Yeah,
fucking you know
I went to
right? Louisiana, wherever, right?
And I'll only talk about this briefly because anytime Tom Petty gets brought up, I have to talk about this concert. But we went, me and my dad and my little brother Kelly and my best friend Madison went to a Tom Petty concert, his final tour in Vancouver here. And it was one of the best fucking concerts I've ever seen in my life. He was on stage for over 2 hours. He fucking talked in between every song. He was so full of life. And he died like less than 2 months later. And it was, at that concert is so fucking special to me because it was such a incredible experience to be there with like all these people that I love. And like every fucking, like the whole fucking 2 hours, everyone was standing up and singing. Yeah. And you know, there was a whole fucking variety of people in that audience, but we were all fucking jamming out to every single lyric.
Tom
in
fucking
these
Petty.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was Tom fucking Petty. Like,
all right.
But
I got any time that there's a band with fucking in the middle, then I've been at a lot of shows where it's blank fucking blank. And it's that moment. I remember first time I met you in VFS, you were sitting in front. We were in the basement in Cat Montague's like script structure class or whatever the fuck. And you were wearing a Tom Petty t-shirt, and I remember being like, don't be cool right now, Johnny. Fucking make friends. Don't be a fucking cool asshole. Be like, fuck Tom Petty. Because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. There's, it came on the radio at like 8 o'clock when I was a kid, and like they played the shit out of it to the point where I knew what time this song was coming on, and I would like Last Dance to Mary Jane or whatever when I was like very young. And we're back. I don't know where to...
Tom Petty on the radio.
Oh sorry. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I knew that the time to catch that song and really dug it. And it was like I was into like bubblegum pop music and shit. I was a fucking kid, right? I was at Spice Girls and the Backstreet Boys or whatever, like for my first first tapes or whatever. I actually had them on tape.
Quick aside, whenever Spice Girls, I was so obsessed with Spice Girls as a kid. Whenever it gets brought up, my parents love to tell how from ages like probably 4 to 7, I would walk around with like crop tops and like platform sandals, and would just be like, "Go power, go power."
A zigga.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no. So I was super into that, and so that song might have been like the first one that wasn't like a dance number, like super poppy or whatever. That it was, it was rock and roll. It was melodic, and like the Last Dance with Mary Jane or whatever. I mean, it definitely wasn't like the rock and roll that I would go on to, to love and stuff, but I would be lying if I told you that Tom Petty hasn't been part of like my life, like sonically, whether I liked it or not, you know, for my entire life, right? And I don't hate him for it.
Yeah, I mean, he
it would be different if he sucked, right?
Yeah, and he yeah, obviously, like we've talked about, my dad super into classic rock, and so I grew up on Tom Petty, and my two best friends growing up, Maddie and Shelby, both also love Tom Petty. And so this music, when I hear it, obviously, like, I like all types of music, and I know this isn't like, you know, it's not like interesting, or it's not like super dynamic, or it's not like dangerous or anything like that, but it makes me feel happy because it reminds me of home. And like, I just love his lyrics. And yeah, I have a lot of good memories.
No, lemonade was a popular drink, and it still is.
Yeah,
you know?
But do you think there is anyone now that can like unite so many different people in the same way that Tom Petty did?
Is anybody capable of having mass appeal now? I don't know, because everything is so sequestered and separated for good reason.
Well,
right?
I think
like
now
if you
everyone
like your
is
shit, then you know where to go for it.
But
right?
I also think now everyone is much more political, and they want everyone wants
whether they're
someone
political
to
or not,
take
they
a
want their
side.
fucking opinion. Like everybody wants
they
to
want
have their
to know
fucking
what
voice
you're
heard and shit like
and
that,
because of cancel culture and shit, they're like, well, I want to know what your views are so I can know whether to like you or not.
Exactly. So many fucking people base their opinion and assessment on art.
Yeah.
Like 10 steps past the art itself.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to look at a painting and like you dig brush strokes and shit like that, and you know what to recognize, and then you'll like that. And obviously, or if you like a show about, you know, a doctor in New York that has a family, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. And then you find out, oh, wait a minute, he is one of the most successful comedians that's been date raping fucking women for, you know, so you can see a lot of the things that were like either like presented as wholesome that turned out to be horrific, or like that's kind of why I like really fucked up shit. All right, I like really fucked up artists. I like really fucked up stuff, because like that's where the fucked up comes out. You know what I mean? Right? Like totally. I like to. I'm not afraid of my friends that are out until 2 or 3 in the morning and going to like these places and doing these things, because I know where they are. Right. And like I also have spent a little bit of time, you know, creeping around the back streets and stuff like that, right? And like that's where people don't know where you are.
Yeah.
Right? So like always keep an eye on somebody that, you know, all of that bullshit aside. The need for your own self-validation in the art that you consume is fucking dumb, but I get it, right? Like I totally need it. I won't if I find out that something that I love and have loved for a long time has been kind of compromised by something that is like pretty horrific by the person that was like making that art, then it's up to me to, you know, to see what that was. Am I going to feel about this every time that, you know, this art comes up, whether it's, I mean, it runs the gamut, whether it's filmmakers, comedians, musicians, fucking everybody has done, artists, visual artists, like if you go back far enough, you're going to find something distasteful or something not to like about something, right? But if that's the landscape, and that's the way that people like just like the zeitgeist or the mass kind of mindset is, then I don't know if it's possible unless your name is Beyonce, because bitch. Honestly, I don't think that like an artist is going to come through, because every there used to be like subculture, right? But now it's like generational gaps and shit like that, which is kind of weird. Yeah. Which is crazy, because the only thing that's ever been of importance is class, right? Right? Like this is where it all boils down to. True, right? Yeah. But every group is like, we need to protect ourselves and each other. Yeah. But mostly ourselves.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Everyone is humans are tribalistic by nature, and it just depends on what you define the tribe as.
Totally. So, will somebody like it's hard with music, right? Because with like sports, it's so simply like easily uniting
Yeah.
when you can look at like, you know,
Because
Michael
it's
Jordan
not like
taking
a-
over this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Nigel Houston, if you're like a fan of skateboarding, it's pretty undeniable that that kid's
Yeah.
like the most dominant
But I
like
think with
competition skateboarder or whatever. So like it's easier to do, but with music it's like it's with art. You're putting something out there that is,
and it's coming
it's
like
gonna be
as
impossible.
athletes, like what you admire them for isn't them, it's what they can do with their bodies, and it's like what they can accomplish in a purely like physical realm.
Yeah,
Whereas like
if you're
with
talking about the NFL
musicians-
too, because people don't give a fuck about what an NFL player has
Exactly,
done.
yeah.
There's some
because it doesn't
wild
matter.
shit.
Whereas like musicians, you're consuming like part like their soul in
Sure.
a way, because they're like putting their, and then it's disturbing when you find out someone whose music is like a part of you has like wild views that you don't agree with.
Yeah,
And
if
so I
you're a
think
fan of
that's
like
kinda-
pop
yeah.
punk in the early 2000s
Yeah.
and think that any of those people weren't having sex with underage girls, like you better give your fucking head a shake, right? Like there's a lot of like, and like the same thing with like like misogyny and violence and hip hop and it was whatever, right? Or if you look at like the 70s like rock and roll kind of era where those
Mm-hmm.
guys are like fucking like doing coke and then like doing horrific fucking things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so every era has that. I think with like from what you've told me about Tom Petty in particular, doesn't seem to have a lot of those things. I mean, you sure?
No, I don't know of any. Well, he did. He was addicted to heroin. But other than that, like he wasn't like
Other
a
than
big,
a little heroin addiction.
but it was like a.
No, that's cool.
It's
Like-
interesting because it is like kind of a brief period in his life where he went
Yeah.
through this. When
There's
he
not
was
like
going through this
Aerosmith
shit,
stories of
but it
heroin,
wasn't like he was a
right?
lifelong partier. He
Yeah,
was never. He was
right.
like a big weed smoker,
Oh, that's
but he
cool.
wasn't a big drinker or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
So well, I
yeah,
think
I
that
don't know.
it would be easier for somebody that was be like just generally all around likable.
exactly.
But
yeah.
even
But it was also easier to be that way in like the 70s and
Yeah,
80s and
yeah.
stuff, because now people demand to
yeah,
know your
you can't
political
do it
views,
right. Like
which is like kind of in some ways it's for the better.
Yeah.
I think as a whole in society it's better that people are more political,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of consuming art, it has bled over a little bit too much maybe, because I don't know if we
well, I don't know
need to
actually.
know.
So hold on. Fucking maybe you can, but you have to be Run the Jewels.
Yeah.
Run the Jewels is the only fucking group that I've seen in the past like decade maybe that every fucking buddy is on
It's
board
true.
with.
Fuck, I
And
saw
anybody
them-
that's not on board with them is afraid to say it because
You-
that shit is like undeniably like.
You know what's
okay.
funny is that I've seen them live. They opened for Lord.
Randy Marsh? The Randy Marsh? That's rad. Lord. I don't even know.
But yeah, like this like this pop artist that they opened for, which is
Yeah.
like clearly, and everyone was fucking going wild.
So
for Run
maybe-
the Jewels.
okay, so they-
everyone fucking loves Run the Jewels. That was my
yeah,
point. I
so
was
maybe
agreeing with
not
you.
to maybe
Yeah.
so to frame or to answer the question under like a different kind of frame then I do think that you can have like serious mainstream success that kind of blankets over everything, but it's just not going to look like this ever again.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fair.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, no, I'm happy.
Well, do you have any more thoughts on the album? Any closing remarks?
I can't remember the name of the song, but there was one that there was one on here that I dug. That was
Shadow of a Doubt.
Yeah. So if you're gonna check out this album, listen to Shadow of a Doubt. I really
like
this
that one too.
because every other song on here you'll have heard before. And you know, I'm 31 now. I'm not trying to be a fucking asshole. I'm not too cool for anything. I'll listen to it and have some fun. And yeah, fuck it. Happy 10th episode.
Yeah, happy number 10.
We're gonna pop this fucking warm ass bottle of champagne, baby. Let's do it. Ow!
I was trying to figure out. I was like, oh, what's like the 10 like anniversary type thing, and it was like aluminum or tin. I was like, I'm just gonna get a bottle of bubbly. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, right at my face.
Happy.
Happy 10th. Let's get the fuck out of here.